The average American family spends $1,200 yearly on meat and protein, importing it from factory farms thousands of miles away. And when supply chains break or prices spike, your family's protein disappears overnight because you're completely dependent on a system you don't control. But 150 square feet of backyard space can produce 400 pounds of protein annually using 3 animals that breed themselves, feed themselves from your waste, and create a closed-loop system that runs for 20 years without buying feed. Here's how to build a protein system that never stops producing. You don't need acres or expensive infrastructure because what you need is the 3-animal rotation system that John Seymour perfected through decades of self-sufficient living. Rabbits for rapid reproduction, chickens for eggs and steady meat, and ducks for pest control and fat production. Together, they create a protein factory that feeds your family while actually improving your soil and reducing waste. The system works because each animal fills a specific role that the others cannot. Rabbits convert vegetation into lean meat faster than any livestock on Earth with a 50-day harvest cycle. Chickens turn insects and scraps into eggs and meat while providing the richest manure for gardens. Ducks control slugs and pests while producing eggs with superior baking properties and meat with natural fat content that rabbits and chickens lack. Most backyard protein systems fail within the first year because people make 3 critical mistakes. First, they choose animals based on emotion rather than production efficiency, keeping pets instead of livestock and refusing to harvest when the time comes. Second, they fail to integrate the animals into a closed-loop system where waste from one animal feeds another, creating expensive dependency on purchased feed instead of free resources. Third, they scale too fast, starting with 20 chickens and 10 rabbits before understanding the daily labor, the processing requirements, and the reality that livestock demands consistent attention regardless of weather, illness, or vacation plans. The successful homesteaders start with 1 breeding trio of rabbits, 3 chickens, and 2 ducks, then scale gradually as their knowledge and infrastructure develop. Law 1 states that animals must produce more value than they consume, which means every animal either provides meat, eggs, pest control, or manure that exceeds the cost of their feed and space. Law 2 requires that animals fit into a waste recycling system where chicken manure feeds your garden waste feeds rabbits, and rabbit manure feeds worms that feed chickens. Law 3 demands that you maintain genetic diversity through careful breeding, preventing inbreeding depression that crashes reproduction rates and creates weak, disease-prone stock. This isn't about going off-grid or preparing for collapse. This is about reclaiming control of one of the most fundamental human needs, which is protein, and not being completely dependent on a supply chain that can fail at any moment. The families who built these systems aren't paranoid. They're practical. Because when meat prices doubled in 2022, when egg prices tripled in 2023, when bird flu shut down commercial operations, the homesteaders with backyard protein systems didn't panic at the grocery store. They walked into their backyard and harvested what they needed while their neighbors paid $8 per pound for chicken and $6 for a dozen eggs. Start with rabbits because they're the fastest protein producers on Earth. A single breeding doe produces 50 to 75 pounds of meat annually from just 1 animal. Use New Zealand whites or Californians for meat production because they reach harvest weight of 5 pounds in just 8 to 10 weeks. Your starter setup needs 3 rabbits, which is 2 does and 1 buck housed in separate wire cages 30 inches by 36 inches elevated 3 feet off the ground so manure falls through into collection trays below. Feed rabbits on garden waste, weeds, grass clippings, and vegetable scraps supplemented with hay. A breeding doe consumes roughly 6 ounces of feed daily, which costs nearly nothing if you're growing it yourself. Breed does every 90 days by placing the doe in the buck's cage for 10 minutes, then return her to her own space. She'll give birth to 6 to 10 kits after 31 days, and those kits reach harvest weight in 10 weeks, giving you a continuous protein supply. Rabbit housing requires proper ventilation and protection from predators and extreme weather. Wire cage floors allow manure to drop through, keeping rabbits clean and dry while creating valuable fertilizer below. Position cages under roof overhangs or build simple shelters that block rain and direct sun but allow air circulation. For chickens, start with 3 hens from dual-purpose breeds like Rhode Island Reds, Barred Rocks, or Buff Orpingtons that provide both eggs and meat. House them in a simple coop with 4 square feet per bird inside and 10 square feet per bird in an outdoor run. Each hen produces 250 to 300 eggs annually while converting kitchen scraps, garden waste, and foraged insects into the richest fertilizer available, which is chicken manure composted for 6 months before garden application. The chicken coop needs nest boxes, roosts, and predator-proof construction with hardware cloth because raccoons tear through chicken wire easily. Elevate the coop 2 feet off the ground to prevent moisture problems and provide ventilation near the roof to release ammonia from manure. Add 2 ducks, preferably khaki Campbells or Indian runners for eggs, or pecans for meat. Ducks need water for drinking and bathing, which can be as simple as a plastic kiddie pool changed weekly. They consume slugs, snails, and insects that damage gardens while producing eggs with higher fat content perfect for baking. Ducks also produce nitrogen-rich manure that composts quickly and feeds garden beds without burning plants like chicken manure can. Duck housing is simpler than chicken coops because ducks don't roost and need only a sheltered floor space with clean bedding. They're hardier in cold weather due to their dense feathers and fat layer. The key challenge with ducks is managing water because they create mud wherever they bathe. The numbers are remarkable when you calculate actual returns. Your initial investment of $200 for cages, feeders, waterers, and starter animals produces $1,200 to $1,500 worth of protein annually from rabbits alone, plus another $400 to $600 in eggs from chickens and ducks. That's a 600% to 800% return in the first year. But the real value compounds over time because breeding stock reproduces itself, meaning your $200 investment creates a protein system that runs for 20 years with minimal replacement costs. The transformation from grocery store dependency to backyard protein production isn't just financial. It's psychological and spiritual because there's a fundamental shift that happens when you raise, harvest, and process your own food. You reconnect with the reality that meat is not something that appears wrapped in plastic, but something that requires life, death, and gratitude. You learn respect for the animals that feed you, and you eliminate the cognitive dissonance of eating meat while pretending it doesn't come from killing. This isn't cruelty. This is honesty about what it means to be human and an omnivore. Picture your backyard 1 year from now. Wire rabbit cages line one fence where does nurse their litters while grow-out cages hold fryers approaching harvest weight. Your chicken coop hums with activity as hens scratch through compost, turning your waste into black gold while laying eggs with deep orange yolks that store-bought versions can't match. Ducks waddle through your garden beds, hunting slugs and fertilizing soil while their eggs wait in nest boxes. Your freezer holds vacuum-sealed packages of rabbit, chicken, and duck, each one labeled and dated, representing hundreds of dollars you didn't spend at the grocery store. Your garden explodes with growth, fed by manure from animals that eat your waste. You've built a closed-loop system where nothing is wasted and everything feeds something else. This system works because it's been working for thousands of years, refined by generations who understood that protein security means breeding stock, not grocery stores. Start today by choosing your first animals. Build your housing. Learn to process humanely. Scale gradually as your knowledge grows. Your backyard is a sleeping protein factory capable of feeding your family for decades. And all you have to do is wake it up, one breeding trio at a time, until you're completely independent from a fragile supply chain that was never designed to serve your family's long-term security.